Now, in general, unless you're using cash, when you make a payment, this payment is processed and is transferred from one account to another using one or more financial institutions or banks. The same goes when you go online and buy something, even if you buy with PayPal or some other method. Again, there is usually one or more financial institution to process that payment. So as you can see, this is a centralized structure where one entity is managing payments, and we're also entrusting that entity to manage our security, the security of our account, and our privacy. Now, no matter how well you trust this company or this bank, as we've seen before, centralized structures are just inherently not private. The reason for this is because all of the information is stored in one single place. So even if you trust this company and trust everything about it, what about the employees that work at this place? What about hackers that manage to gain access to it? What about other agencies that force this entity to have backdoors or to give them access? And the list goes on and on and on. Simply, the idea of keeping everything in one place is not private. The alternative to this is to use cryptocurrency, which is not controlled or managed by a single entity. So previously, we had the money, which is the cash, which is stored in a bank or some financial institution that manages that currency. When it comes to cryptocurrency, it eliminates the need to a middleman or to an entity that manages this currency. Instead, it relies on decentralized peer-to-peer structure known as blockchain. Now, to understand how this works, let's have an example where David wants to send money to John. To do this, the first thing David will do is he'll create a crypto wallet. You can think of this similar to creating a PGP account. So the wallet will be associated with two keys, a private key and a public key. And let's say David wants to transfer one coin to his friend John, so he generates a message or a request similar to this right here, and he'll sign this request with his private key, which will generate a signature or a fingerprint. So again, this is very similar to when we used to sign messages with our private key with PGP. And the reason why this is done to make sure that whoever inspects this message or this request will know that this request to transfer one coin from David's account is actually generated by David, because David will never share his private key. Now, once this is signed, David will also include his public key so that it can be used to verify the signature. Again, similar to what we spoke about in the encryption section of this course, the public key is mathematically related to the private key, and therefore it can be used to verify the signature without revealing information about the private key. So, when this message is inspected by anybody, they can use the public key to verify the signature, and if it checks out, we'll know that this message was actually generated by David. Therefore, we can process the transfer of one coin from David to John. So, once this message is generated on David's end, David will send this message to the cryptocurrency network. Now, this network is basically a number of computers, usually of high specs, that keep a copy of all transactions done using this cryptocurrency. These computers are usually referred to as miners because they get paid coins for maintaining the ledger or this record of transactions. Now, this record of transactions is known as a blockchain. So it's a public record that contains all transactions made with this cryptocurrency, and each miner, each computer on the cryptocurrency network contains a copy of all of these transactions. So it contains a copy of the blockchain. So David's message is sent to the currency network. It'll get verified, and if it checks out, it will be added to the blockchain. So this message will be added as a new block to the existing blockchain stored by each one of these computers or miners. So right here I have a zoomed in diagram of the blockchain. So each one of the miners of the computers contains a copy of this. And you can think of each one of these blocks as a transaction that happened in the past. The latest one being the one that David just generated, in which he transferred a coin to John, but the others are just other transactions that have been done in the past. So as you can see, this is a decentralized structure. It is not owned by anybody and not controlled by anybody. Anyone can join this network and use their computer for mining, so anyone can download a copy of this blockchain and start mining and start helping maintain this cryptocurrency network. Now you can also see that this implementation is private because I'm using names in here. So I'm saying we're transferring one coin from David to John, or here from Bob to Alice. But in reality, real names are not used. Instead, wallet addresses are used. So the contents of the blocks, even though they're public, you'll see the content of it saying it's transferring from a long address to another long address. And as long as the users are using proper OPSEC, keeping their real identity separate from their fake identity, connecting using the Tor network, and using all of the tips and methods that we discussed to stay private and as anonymous as possible, these addresses will not link to their real identities. With that being said, the fact that the whole ledger or the whole blockchain is public means that we can read all of the transactions done using this cryptocurrency. Therefore, even though these addresses don't link to real identities, we can analyze a specific address and see all of the transactions it got involved in. So we can see all of the money that left this address and all of the money that entered this address. Therefore, we'll even be able to calculate the current balance in this specific account. Now, you can obviously just create multiple addresses to get around this. There are also other methods to increase anonymity and privacy and make it hard to see where money is going and where it's leaving from. And you can simply just use a more private cryptocurrency like Monero, which we'll talk about later on in the course. For now, I just wanted to give you a basic understanding on how cryptocurrencies work, and this is pretty much how Bitcoin works, which is the most popular cryptocurrency.